Hello everyone, I'm Tommy with Studio Sense. Back in 1979, I was about, let me do the math really quickly. I was 12 years old. I was pretty deep into science fiction and fantasy, and that's when Choose Your Own Adventure came out. Do you remember Choose Your Own Adventure? Where you could select from multiple endings, so you'd have this main storyline and it would branch out, literally like a tree, with multiple different branching stories. Absolutely love those books. They spawned a generation of changes within the genre of video games with RPGs. Mass Effect is actually credited Choose Your Own Adventure for coming up with the creative inspiration for their branching dialogue and ideas. And I thought, you know what, it would be kind of cool to choose your own fragrance that way too, depending upon the circumstances. And so that's what today's video is going to be dedicated to. Choose your own adventure, choose your own fragrance. And in this case, we're going to be talking about a little bit different situation in the cold weather. What would happen if there was an avalanche and you were snowed in? And let's say you were snowed in with someone that you're attracted to. This is dedicated to choose your own adventure in that format, harkening back to those halcyon days of turning to page whatever to see your branching storyline. Choose your own fragrance. You know, you ask a girl to go skiing, she says sure, so you go up to that one mountain, you make overnight accommodations at the lodge there just in case. You have a great day of skiing, it looks like a northeasterly wind starts blowing in, so you're like, let's go inside and get a hot chocolate and talk for a few minutes until the storm blows over. And the entire entrance of the lodge is completely covered with snow. Everybody's freaking out, so they comp the rooms. And so you and your date end up having to go up to the cabin because it's getting darker outside, it's getting cooler in the lodge as the electricity's been cut off. But there's plenty of firewood, right? You're at a lodge after all. So you take some of the firewood, divvy it up amongst everyone that's there, and you go to your respective rooms, which end up being an actual cabin within the area of the lodge. So you can get to the actual cabin itself. You're not like completely snowed out of the cabin, but you can't get outside of that lodge area where the cabins are because of the avalanche. So are you ready? Have you taken your 5 avalanche fragrances with you? Maybe you've been in an actual storm where you've had fragrances with you or wished that you had those fragrances with someone that you're wanting to impress or wanting to pull compliments from, and you haven't. This is going to help you out. It's going to give you some good ideas. So you've promised to protect her, you've got a good fire going, she starts to feel vulnerable, but the cozy kind of vulnerable, not the please don't eviscerate me with that poker you're holding kind of vulnerable. So she scoots closer to you on the couch, grabs your arm by the bicep, lifts it up, slips her arm into yours, interlocking them like a delicate hint of possession, like the first curves of an infinity knot. Do you think to yourself, I forgot to pack deodorant? Or do you think to yourself, oh yeah, I got this? Well, I don't know about you, but I'm going to start out my day with a triple shot of CK1 Shock. CK1 Shock is such a great accessible fragrance. It's not only accessible in price, as it's very, very economical, but it is such a draw you in for more and more and more fragrance. It is considered an oriental fragrance. What is an oriental fragrance? Most of you know what oriental fragrance is, but to actually put it in terms of definition, I'm going to go ahead and post it here. It's part of a family of fragrances where there's more a semi-sweet, it's kind of darker, woodsier, heavier, spicier. It embraces a lot of those terms. And CK1 Shock is all of those, with notes like cucumber, osmanthus. Osmanthus is like, it's floral, but it's more along the lines of fruity, like peach or apricot, amber, tobacco, cardamom. It is a classic, masculine, sexy men's fragrance. The only challenge with CK1 Shock is that by the time the person who smells this on you decides that they like the fragrance, you're going to need to spray on more because it will dissipate. It is very, very weak in terms of performance, but that doesn't matter. It's still one of the best known classic fragrances that's still viable even today. That may be why that it comes with a screw-on cap or screw off cap, and then you screw in the atomizer, because you can elect to not use the atomizer, just dump it on yourself, like take a bath in it, because this is one of those that you're going to spray 2 or 3 times in the morning. By mid-afternoon, you're going to be like, I want another spray or 2. By evening, same thing. So it's weak in projection and longevity. However, it is a very classic fragrance, quick, easy grab, easy buy, economical, and it's definitely one you're going to want to put in your ski bag for this Avalanche. One thing I like too about CK1 Shock is that it lends itself very easy to layering. What I mean by layering? Well, you can spray, let's say 2 or 3 sprays on your arm or on your chest, and then if you have like something like Molecule 1, it even works really good with the Eau de Toilette of Dolce & Gabbana's The One, and you spray that on top of it, or something with the similar like cardamom and tobacco and vanilla in the actual ingredients listing or notes listing itself, works perfectly. Adds some life, some longevity, some projection to CK1 Shock that it doesn't naturally have right out of the bottle. So layering is a great way to keep this fragrance continuing, keep it going for you and get the most out of it. I've layered it with not only The One, but Bulgari Man Black Orient. It works really well. Some of the others we're going to be mentioning on this video as well will also layer great. In fact, they all layer really good with one with the other, because they fit within that same category of woodsy oriental fragrances, wintertime fragrances. Boss Bottled Intense definitely lasts longer than CK1 Shock, probably by 2 to 3 times. And it also has that woodsy vibe to it. One of the things that I love about this fragrance is it makes me think of tending a fire at the fireplace. It has that kind of woodsy, almost semi-creosote flavor or fragrance portion to the fragrance itself, that vibe. And that person that you're snowed in with will also come to love, with notes like apples, cinnamon, clove, vanilla, tonka, vetiver, coumarin. It's such a mellow, sensual fragrance, and trust me, women absolutely love the smell of Boss Bottled Intense. It's a great compliment puller, compliment getter. It is an easy reach, and this is the 50 ml bottle. It does come in the 100 ml bottle. It does have average longevity, average projection. It is something that you will want to either layer with, or like your clothing there at the lodge, you'll either want to layer or you'll want to add an additional spray or 2 near evening time to get that additional projection and longevity out of it. It is another absolute must-have on your Avalanche list. So there you are, both stuck in the cabin in that Avalanche, that northeasterly wind blowing in. The snow continues to build. She looks to you for assurance that you're going to protect her and get her out of the situation. You're going to need that extra bravado and that extra confidence boost that Givenchy Gentleman is going to give you. Now, Gentleman is a fantastic, now this is the EDP, the Eau de Parfum concentration. This is one of the industry's best projected, best sillage trail longevity of anything out there. It is an absolute beast. And one of the best things about it is definitely a winter fragrance, because it does have all of those notes in it that you've come to know and love about winter fragrances, considered oriental woody fragrance. This one kind of has a powdery balsamic. It's got black vanilla, sweet warm benzoin. It's got tonka, it's got cloves, cinnamon. Even has an iris note in there, although you don't detect the iris. It helps within the blend itself. Givenchy Gentleman is a fantastic fragrance. It is another Avalanche or snowstorm must-have. I can tell you through experience that 2 sprays of this will last all day. It also lends itself really well to layering, but keep in mind this is going to be the beast. In other words, it is the alpha dog when it comes to layering. So you want to put down, let's say for example, I've layered this with CK1 Shock. I've put down a spray or 2 of Shock and then a single spray of this. You're going to get a whiff of this more than anything else, but it helps it rounds it out, warms up a little bit, and helps it last literally easily 10, 12, 13, 14 hours. This is incredible. Out of all of these, again, since I'm only mentioning these not in any particular order or order of importance or order of concentration or anything, I would say this is probably number 1 in all of the batch that I'm mentioning this particular video. For when the sun goes down and the fireplace is calling both your names, not only because it's the single source of heat in the cabin, but it's also the single source of light. And the closer to the fireplace she is, the more comforting and the more protected she feels. And so you lay out the blanket in front of the fireplace. So you stoke the fire, put in some fresh wood, and you hear that sap and the moisture popping as the wood gets hot and begins to burn. Some of the smoke drifts out and mingles with that. You get that kind of woodsy, creosote, cold, emblematic sensation and feel that comes with wintertime, but knowing that you're going to be safe, you're going to be protected, you're going to be warm, even as it's freezing or below freezing outside. If that sensation could be relegated to a fragrance, nothing better could imitate that than Kenneth Cole Signature. Signature is an absolute wonder of a fragrance. I love this. It still maintains that woody, semi-creosote smell that comes in Gentleman. It is a softer, more sexy, masculine. It has definitely made my list of, sexy male or masculine fragrances. And I'll put that above me here. If you haven't seen that list yet, there you go. This masculine seductive fragrance features notes like orange, pimento, violet, grapefruit, water lily, papyrus. There's a ton of notes in there, but it's not really in the mix. It's almost like when you read those notes, it's almost like saying a Lamborghini is made up of a carburetor and a piston and an engine. That doesn't really tell you anything about the vehicle. Those notes don't really tell you anything about the fragrance itself or the blend. You've got to experience this to really appreciate just how awesome Kenneth Cole Signature is and how well it will work in those circumstances. Another must-have on the Avalanche or Snowed In list, Kenneth Cole Signature. When the fire dies down to almost nothing but just a few hot burning embers and the snow continues to build on the entrance of the cabin and you both look at each other and share that knowing look, and passing through that look is a mutual admiration, a mutual attraction, and a building trust, and both of you knowing full well that it's going to get really, really cold that night and you have to absolutely, for survival, and let's admit it, both of you want to share body heat. So you pull back the covers, your body heat emanates from it, and a fragrance that you've been wearing also hits her olfactory sense and she's like, wow, I really, really like that. It adds to the attraction factor for her, and that is Calvin Klein's Euphoria Intense. This is a supremely masculine, woody, yet again oriental, but very, very seductive fragrance. It is a very seductive, sexy, alluring fragrance, all those words. Just look up alluring or sexy in a thesaurus and whatever it lists off, that's what this fragrance is. This romantic, sexy fragrance will last the rest of the remaining nighttime hours, and it also mixes very well with sweat. Sweat elongates the longevity and boosts the projection of this a little bit. Some fragrances don't work well with sweat. This one actually works really, really well with sweat. I think that was probably part of the purpose of Euphoria Man Intense. It contains notes of basil, sage, myrrh, vetiver, amber, and a welcoming oud. She will not turn away from your embrace if you're wearing this, but she'll turn into it and want more. And then when you're too tired to talk and both of your minds start drifting into the next day's activities, including getting out of the predicament, you'll both be relieved and a little bit sad that knowing that it's actually going to end, and that's where Euphoria Intense takes up the slack. Euphoria Intense will make her want to stay with you longer, even knowing that she can get out of the situation, escape the situation. She'll want to stay with it longer with you in that avalanche, in that snowstorm. So there you have it, guys. My 5 favorite fragrances to have with me in the event of an avalanche or a snowstorm with the significant other, someone that you're very attracted to, that you want to get to know better, and they get to know you better through not only your fragrances that you choose, but how well you wear them, how well you layer them, and how well you show them off. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes and considering these choices with me. Thanks so much for your support. It means the world to me. And thanks for stopping by and watching. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you next time.